When in Rome, Chapter 9. Back at the station, Antonio turned in the statement regarding the stolen bag to the dispatcher named Maria. Please have it ready within 24 hours. And just as he said that, he regretted it. In 24 hours, Maria snapped. I'm back up as it is. You think I'm twirling my thumbs when you're not around? Antonio grinded his teeth. If not, then give her a call. The number is listed on the sheet. Once again, he walked away before she could respond. Got back to the laundromat and noticed someone was nice enough to put the wet clothes in the dryer. He inserted some coins and waited. Looking at his watch, it's almost 1400 hours. Should Molly be on her way back by now? Maybe another hour or two. It's been a while since he was in the city of Rome. He recalled he has never been back since he moved out of there 2 years ago. After he placed her clothes in his apartment, he continued to make his usual route and answer some more distress calls. It was 1700 hour, no sign of Molly. He started to worry and told himself that he should have made a call to the embassy earlier. And now that they're closed, he won't be able to find out until tomorrow. It was now 1900 hour. The day shifts already went home except him. A sense of guilt risen, and he began to regret letting her go by herself. He changed back to his civilian clothes and took his Fiat and headed south. The sunset sky shimmered the stone buildings and the road that stretched into the mirage. The heat was still rising. It's a perfect image from an artist's hand. He parked in front of the train station, watching people going in and out of the building, hoping to see her. He then moved closer to a train of buses next to it, knowing it is useless because he told her to just walk straight from the station. It's only less than a mile. He parked his car near the station and walked the path that he instructed her. The orange-tinted sky was now gradually covered by spectrums of blue, and the street lights began to show signs of glow. He looked in all directions as he headed to the embassy, certain that any chance of seeing her was slim. Perhaps she was at the airport already and waiting for her ticket. Still, he walked all the way and stood in front of the iron gate that protected the Baroque building. He knew where he has to go next. When in Rome, Chapter 10. Back from the embassy, Antonio stood in front of the Roman terminal waiting to cross the street and heading toward the police station. He entered a narrow path with restaurants and coffee shops and merchandise store. Hasn't changed much, he thought. The same menu posted on the wall from a Middle Eastern restaurant. The graffitis were still there, but after a couple of 100 feet, the scenery went from ghetto to lavish outdoor restaurant dining, furnished with white tablecloth and wine glasses under red umbrellas with the restaurant's logo in gold. He noticed one particular table along the side of the glass wall, about halfway from the long stretch. It was that seating where he was with her, discussing their future before he left for the States for the narcotics investigation. They were going to be married and have children, and perhaps even somewhere outside the city. No need to think about that right now. He shook his head. Got to get there fast to get help. Standing in front of the Polizia di Stato station, he hesitated about walking in. It's about 2300 hours. Will his ex-co-worker still be there? Passing through the lobby, and seeing only the front desk clerk behind a tall counter. The clerk seemed to be preoccupied with his cell phone and didn't even notice him passing by. A couple of officers nearby recognized him, but did not say anything other than a nod. He never really was well acquainted with them. He climbed the stairs to the third floor and entered a huge office space at the end of the hallway. There were a handful of people in front of the computer screens right below a stretch of CCTV monitors showing different locations and their real-time activities. He saw a familiar outline of someone and approached. "Still working long hours, I see," he said quietly. A man who looked similar to Antonio's age turned and looked up, and his eyes widened. He took off his headphones and said, "Mamma mia, what a surprise!" "Ciao, Vincent." "Ciao, Antonio," said Vincent, and stood up and gave Antonio a huge handshake. "How's life for you in Santa Marinella?" "It's all right," Antonio replied. "How's life in Rome?" "Same old Rome," Vincent shrugged. Antonio grinned. "So what's going on since the last time I was here?" Vincent gestured Antonio to sit on an empty seat next to him and leaned back. "Nothing much, except a couple of new features were added into the system." "Like what?" "Well, besides the facial matching features, we can now submit iris scan. It turns out each human iris has its own unique pattern." "Last time I heard about scanning iris was in the movies," Antonio commented. "See, so did I. This thing just got here about a couple of months ago. Quite useful." Vincent stood up and went to a small room closet and produced an object similar to an iPhone but much larger and thicker. He handed it over to Antonio. "Check this out." "What is it?" "It is a mobile face matching background checking system." "How does it work?" "When the officers get a call to identify a suspect, he doesn't even have to ask them for their information. Instead, he just takes a picture of them and sends it to the server center and gets the information of the suspect if they have any prior convictions." "Very cool." "Yep. But it is still being tested, so we will see." Antonio looked up at the screens that stretch across the wall. "Looks like you guys got newer and bigger screens." "See, not only that, but they got new features on pinpointing real-time activities." "How so?" "Whenever the calls come in and report a crime, we add it to the system right away, so the screens will show what kind of crimes have been committed and where at that moment with pop-up symbols. A very useful real-time monitoring system to predict where the crime would likely be held the next time." Antonio nodded. "I would like to see this new program take place at my district." "You and everyone outside the room," Vincent smirked. "So what's going on with you? Did you work today?" "Yes, I did." "What did you encounter today?" "Well, nothing major except a robbery occurred down by Porto Oroscalchi. A woman's purse was snatched and the thief ran straight into a van and took off." Vincent shook his head. "You know, sometimes I wish technology would catch up with the crime so we would really make a difference." "We do what we can," said Antonio. Vincent nodded. "Just last week, a high-tech surveillance company from the U.S. came over to test the software with us." "Mio Dio. If it really works, that case you just mentioned would have been solved right when the call was made." Antonio looked perplexed as Vincent continued. "It's pretty high-tech and require an aircraft to fly over a specific target neighborhood that can capture up to 8 hours straight and as detailed as pinpoint a civilian walking on the street. We've done a real-life tracking of someone getting robbed. We replayed the incident and was able to capture the victim and the thief, and then the thief ran into a getaway car which drove past a certain area with a traffic camera and gas station camera as aid for details. That's fantastic. Yeah, but unfortunately we could not get any info such as license plate number, because the car disappeared quick from the camera's view. So we didn't buy the system, because it wasn't detailed enough. They just pixels. Certainly worth hoping for the near future, Antonio said. Yeah, but already a lot of complaints from the citizens about privacy invasion. Vincent tapped his lap. So, enough about what's going on here. What brings you over to this late hour? Must be an emergency or you just really miss me, Vincent chuckled. Antonio shook his head and grinned. You're right, I'm the first guess. I'm listening. I need your help to locate a person. Sure. Who is it? Antonio thought a bit, realizing not much information he could give Vincent. He could only describe her. She's American and was supposed to get something done at the U.S. Embassy in the airport and then meet me back at Santa, but never came back. Is this a friend of yours, if you don't mind me asking? No, she's a person of unfortunate circumstances. She got robbed and I'm trying to help her to get home. Vincent backtracked a screen lock. What time was she supposed to be there? Today around 1100 hour. Vincent screamed through the movement from inside the train station. This is about that time. Do you see her? Antonio watched the people coming out of the train from Santa Marinella, but was not able to spot Molly. And then the screen switched to the outside the station, and Antonio was still not able to locate her. She's not there. Let's take a look at the train that stopped before and after that train you just examined, said Vincent. But once again, there was no Molly. These trains could have made stops along the way, said Antonio. Yes, it is possible. I will have to contact the train stations in between and request an access to their local monitoring systems. I really appreciate that, Antonio said, and wonder about the airport. Even though we aren't able to see her from the train station, I wonder if I can still get a view of the airport entrance. Vincent nodded and produced a view of the airport entrance after Antonio told her which airline. But after a moment of viewing, there was still no Molly. I'm sorry, my friend. I wish we could have spotted her, said Vincent. Yeah, me too. I will contact them first thing in the morning and let you know as soon as I hear anything. Antonio stood up and shook Vincent's hand. Molto grazie, Vincent. No problem. It's good to see you again. Same here.